Welcome to another episode of Discog Discourse. On this one, we're going to be ranking and reviewing every single Asking Alexandria album.
Oh my God!
My name is Nathan, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts Kyle and Jeff. Gentlemen, I think we got a good one on our hands tonight. It's just the three of us. Back to the OG3. How are you feeling tonight, Kyle?
I'm doing all right. I'm having a good time thinking about Asking Alexandria. And I am going to have a good time discussing them.
Good. I like that. Jeff, how are you?
Yeah, me as well. I'm excited for this. I think this is going to stir the pot a little bit. And I think that's a good thing. I think it will.
I think, I'm inclined to agree. I think this is going to be a very lively discussion, I think would be a nice way to say it. Jeff, I'm going to pull a card from your book whenever we have guests. What's y'all's familiarity with this band? Have y'all listened to them at all before?
Honestly, not really. Besides their biggest hits, I really haven't done a deep dive on their discography until now.
Yeah, I had never done a deep dive in their discography, and my opinion is that they didn't deserve it, and that is my opinion now after doing a deep dive in their discography.
Yeah, similar to Jeff, I had all of their big hits kind of downloaded in my library because I do think they have some really good stuff. But there were two albums in this discography that I did not even know existed. Maybe potentially a little spoiler here. Two of the more recent ones I did not know came out at all. So, this deep dive was good in a sense. I did some learning, did some research, did some growing to get to know this band a little better. And that was certainly an experience. So, fellas, I don't think we want to waste too much time before getting into this. We'll plug the social media, we'll do our shout outs, and then we'll more or less get into it. So if you want to join the discourse, you can follow us on Twitter at discog_pod, on TikTok at Discog Discourse, and on Instagram at discog.discourse. We also have a Patreon for anyone interested in supporting the show. You'll get bonus episodes every month, like the one that's going to be coming out alongside this, where we're going to determine the top 10 Asking Alexandria songs. You'll also be able to vote on what bands we cover when we don't have guests. And as you'll hear later, our second-tier donors can read off their own rankings on the show. Also, if you could be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on, that would help us out a ton. And we do have a couple tweets that we want to shout out here. These tweets, of course, are from the last episode we did on Every Time I Die with Ryan from Blind Wolf. If you want to go hear us talk about a band we really like and love, go check that out. This first shout out is from Brian at Crazy Toledo. He says, never trust a person that doesn't realize hot damn was peak Every Time I Die. Jeff, I know you're more in line with that philosophy to an extent, but Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Stupid. Next.
Wow.
Just kidding. I obviously don't agree, but if you would like to hear my thoughts, please check out the episode we did on it.
Excellent. All right. This next one is from Boca Boca at Jared B Media. They said Radical at 7 has to be bait. I know that's me. And this is the general consensus for sure. It's not bait. I can promise you that, but it's just fine. And this last one here is from Mace at Hicks Inferno. They said Low Teens not being number one on all of them is a crime. Hot Damn being that low on all of them is kind of odd. And where the hell is Last Night in Town? The last point there is pretty fair because I didn't include it on the graphic, but we did talk about it in the episode. It was just at the very bottom. Didn't make the cut for the graphic, you could say. And then Low Teens at number one, I feel like we kind of talked about that on the episode a little bit. That is kind of the common consensus, number one for a lot of people now, it feels like. And Jeff, you're right in line there. So I'll let you speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I do think that's the popular consensus to have that album number one. At least for me, it was a mix of the musical quality itself and then also a bit of nostalgia. But I do think a lot of people hold that opinion.
I think so too. And I think a lot of it has to do with, that's the album that got a lot of people into Every Time I Die, myself included. Like that was my first Every Time I Die album release. I'd heard them before and liked a couple of songs, but that was the first time I really got into them.
I also feel like we celebrated it plenty during the episode.
We did. And I played the heel a little bit just to, play the devil's advocate some about it, but we did sing its praises quite a bit. One last thing I want to do briefly is shout out some of our patrons. Every month, I kind of give a heads up on, hey, here's what's coming out. It's the insider information post. Here's what we're doing the next month. You'll get to know what band we're covering. And I also open the floor to questions, for guests that we have on the show and the three of us. And so we do have a couple questions here. This first one is from Derek Dorian, who you'll hear from later because he is a diehard and he sent us his list. He says, would you ever do a top 10 metal covers of all time bonus episode? I think that'd be pretty fun. Kind of in the same way we did the top 10 guitar solos where we all bring 10 and then have to figure out which one we like the most. I think that'd be fun.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So Derek, stay tuned. That's a fantastic idea. The next time we do a bonus, maybe we'll do that. I've also been pining for like a Punk Goes Pop episode. I think ranking and reviewing all of those albums would be kind of a fun exercise. And this next one is from Josh Ungren. He says, super excited for this episode. Also excited for the new Callous Cowboys album coming out this week. Would love to hear your opinions on it and have them back as a guest again if possible. Josh, you and me both, brother. Loving the new Callous Cowboys album. Genuinely cannot stop listening to it. It's so good.
Leaving the Callous Cowboys album to listen to Asking Alexandria is hard. And I would just like to say that this is a sacrifice that the three of us have made because the Callous Cowboys dropped a potential masterpiece. And we get to listen to a influential band, Asking Alexandria, in its place.
Yeah, it was hard because I feel like there's a lot of creativity on this Callous Cowboys album.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that's lacking at a certain point.
Boo. Dude, they're so creative. We'll get there.
It's kind of lacking.
We'll get there. Will get there.
They're geniuses, though. You guys, sorry. Callous Cowboys, they rule. Nathan, continue.
Yeah, it's a great album.
And we'd love to have Carson or any one of them back in the discourse sometime soon.
Let's get Carson back.
We need to. He's our first ever guest, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's kind of crazy.
And I guess I probably shouldn't spoil this, but Mikey is coming back from Gloom in the Corner. In the future. So stay tuned.
And some folks who are in on the lore of Discog Discourse know who we're covering.
Hey, Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey. Yeah.
Okay,
all right, folks.
Strap in. This preamble has gone long enough.
Putting it off.
I am stalling. I'm stalling. But for anyone who's never tuned into the show, the way this is going to work is one of us is going to lead the discussion and we'll reveal our least favorite album and we'll go from least favorite to favorite. And as the leader does so, the other two of us will reveal where it is in our list and we'll all kind of talk about the album together. So guys, it occurred to me as I was prepping that we didn't designate a leader for this episode.
Oh, I want Kyle to do it.
Jeff, you're technically due, but if you want to designate Kyle, I'm not going to stop you.
All right.
What is your least favorite Asking Alexandria album?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, my least favorite Asking Alexandria album is their 2017 self-titled record.
Really?
Yeah, that surprises me a little bit, to be honest.
I hate this album.
That
Why?
I hate this album
Why?
so much.
Jeff, that's kind of high.
That's kind of high, Jeff, at number 5 and Nathan at number 6. Don't eat my lunch here, folks. This is actually one of the most shockingly bloated and lifeless albums I have ever heard in my entire life. From the production to the lyrics to the riffs and the melodies, there is nothing that interests me about this album. This feels like, and I say this acknowledging all the irony, this is dollar brand Disturbed post 2016. That's a shot for the record. This album, in my opinion, is worse than any of the Fall Out Boy shit era albums. Yes.
I disagree with that heavily.
Oh my god.
No, that's not true.
That's harsh.
Yes.
That's harsh.
It's bad. Don't get me wrong. This is bad. This is not worse than Mania.
Oh, dude. Maybe it's on the same level as Mania. I'd have to dust up.
I'm a Mania enjoyer.
This album does make me so annoyed. I mean, the fact that on Empire, the rap track.
Yes, Empire's horrible.
The entire album, I was like, there's going to be a rap track. I listened to this album 2 times. The first time I was like, it's going to happen. And the fact that I stand tall through it all, I risked too much to give up now. Lead inside my pencil like the hammer on my pistol's back. Dude, what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's cringy.
Look, that frustrated me. Hold on, I'm not done. What are you talking about? Look,
keep going.
You look.
Yes, sir.
Alone in the room.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
The delivery throughout the album, the vocal delivery especially, is trying to be Fall Out Boy garbage era. They're trying to be save rock and roll, and I don't like save rock and roll. But if I were on a desert island and I had to pick between the two to listen to the rest of my life, oh my gosh, it's not even a question. It's not even a question. The delivery and the melody, and there's nothing about the first redeeming thing on this album for me is an Eve.
Yes.
Alone in the Room, Through Vultures are like actually bad. Like when the lights come on, when they start with the woes and the clapping, you know it's going to be fire. And it's a brazen ripoff of American Beauty, American Psycho. The Where Did It Go is a 5-finger death punch chorus, but again, a dollar brand 5-finger death punch chorus, which is not good. You want the dollar brand of the rotted meat. Sorry, this is a little harsh, and I apologize. This album I truly did not enjoy listening to. Eve is the only somewhat redeeming song on this album. I Am One is Call of Duty rock. That's what I call it, where you hear this in the game, and that's it. The rest is Uncle Butt rock, and I was not interested by any of it, and I found myself getting frustrated listening to this album.
Yeah, it's bad. There's no doubt about that. I do think there are a couple other albums that are worse. One in particular that I think is far more bloated and far more offensive in just about every sense. Instrumentally, vocally, lyrically, especially. Like there is some garbage in here. This to me is nothing. This is nothing. Like obviously, within the context of the band and their discography, Danny Worsnop is back. He was gone on the album right before this. Took a 1-album hiatus, returned for this one, and he basically brought his other project with him sonically. He left to try to pursue another band called We Are Harlot, very much more straightforward rock. Terrible band name. He comes back to Asking Alexandria, and it feels like he was like, guys, I was trying this over there. Wasn't working out. I need the name recognition of our band, but I'm gonna basically bring the sound from that band.
He was like, have you guys ever heard of Fall Out Boys, Save Rock and Roll, and American Beauty, American? You guys ever heard of what Disturbed did after they made 10,000 Fists? Let's do that, except worse. Well,
and it's funny that you mentioned Fall Out Boy because I had also keyed in on that. Into the Fire sounds like a Fall Out Boy song with a couple of screams and some lower
Yes.
tuned guitars. You touched on this song earlier. This is the most offensive Fall Out Boy rip I think I've ever heard. When the Lights Come On is terrible. And in general, like there's something really inherently cringy about singing a song about being at a concert or singing to the
Yes.
crowd. Like lyrics like when the lights come on and the crowd goes whoa will never work. That is so terrible. And also the audacity to include stand up and scream as a cute little nod in the lyrics is very irritating because it's like, oh yeah, let's pay homage to where we started when we were a much more enjoyable band on this very terrible album. And as I was listening to that song, in addition to the notes of Fall Out Boy, the verses sounded so familiar to me. And I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. Like, just for some context, I was listening to these on a flight back from Colorado, and I was thinking the whole flight, where have I heard that vocal melody before? And then it finally clicked. It is the exact same as the first verse of The Sharpest Lives by My Chemical Romance. And I know y'all are probably gonna have to go back to hear it, but it is like spot on, bar for bar, vocal melody, the exact same. And so that also doesn't do the song any favors because I'm like, wow, that's a much better album. I would much rather be listening to that song, that album, than this generational trash heap of an album.
Nathan, so you were coming back. You flew out of Denver. Would you say you were over Denver?
Well, it's funny you ask that. Yes, but also I think that's one of the better songs on here. It's obviously one of the least heavy, but I kind of like that sparkly, choppy synth they got going on in there. Kind of gives it a dreamlike feel. And the chorus is fine, and it's not trying to pretend to be something it's not. Like to me, that song is kind of what they clearly want to be doing more of. And I think it comes through because it's kind of decent and like not painful to listen to. It's the only song on this album that got a positive score among a lot of other 4s and 5s.
Yeah, I can only echo what you guys have said about the album. I think for me, it's at a perfect spot right in the middle. Nathan, like you said, this album really is nothing. It really does go in through one ear and out the other.
I love that the highest praise for this album is nothing.
I mean, dude, it's so
not
fun.
Except for like Empire, which is actually disrespectful. This album otherwise is just
bad.
this album is just really just is inoffensive, and it just happens and it exists, and you listen to it once and you move on. I have it a little higher because I do like Alone in a Room, Into the Fire, and Hopelessly Hopeful especially. I think the chorus in that song is really, really good. And then Eve, like we said, I think that song's actually pretty good. Unlike the albums below this one, they don't have really a good song. Well, I really do feel like Eve is generally a good song. And that's the only reason why I have this album so high. Otherwise, I agree with everything you guys said. This album is not good. It's not worth listening to. And it's just arena rock, radio rock.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It is generic octane radio metalcore. And there's nothing remarkable about it. Like Alone in the Room is like their biggest song. And it's just nothing. Like it's fine. Like it's inoffensive. The verses are kind of cringy. The way he's going for like a clearly very poppy, bouncy vocal. I don't know that he can do it. And I will say, I like Danny's voice. Like I think he has a good voice, and I actually think it adds a lot of character to Asking Alexandria's sound. Like it's hard to hear Asking Alexandria without Danny, in the sense that his voice is so distinct for their sound.
Yeah, and I will say one praise for this album is that it's produced pretty well, and his singing is like pretty good.
It's good,
Nathan, like you were saying. He improves throughout the discography, and if that's one praise that I can give him, like he gets better as a singer, and I think here that's one of the reasons why the hooks are not too terrible, at least in my opinion, at least in Alone in a Room, Into the Fire, Hopelessly Hopeful. But his singing is pretty good.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It raises this album from potentially bad to just inoffensive and boring at worst. Now, I will
Completely
say,
agree.
y'all are liking Eve quite a bit. I think Eve is
Don't
almost
say
the
that.
most offensive song on
Hold
here.
on. Don't say that about me. I said that's the first song with some redeeming qualities. This is one of my
That's
least
fair.
favorite albums I've ever listened to. Like I'm not even
Wow.
joking. This is in our 3 years of doing this show. I don't know if I can remember an album that frustrated me more than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
Eve is
and-
like an actual metalcore song though. It actually has screamed
But that's-
verses. It has a good
Yeah,
hook.
but
The
it's-
lyrics aren't super cringy. It's an actual song. It's like,
But that's the thing, though. It's like, oh, so you can still do this, and you
Yeah.
clearly don't really want to, based on the fact that you're not doing it on the rest of the album, and your attitude towards heavier music that really becomes clear through the lyrics on later albums. And it's like, this is not what you want to do, and it just feels pandering. It's like,
And
let's
by the way,
pander to our
you-
heavy fans
and
for
by the
one
way,
song.
you can still do this in a way that
Yeah.
every metalcore band can in 2017.
Yeah.
Hey, grow up and do something different.
Yep.
just because it's frustrating to know that they can do a song like this and they didn't, doesn't take away from the song itself, which I still think Eve, if you take it on its own, alone, is a pretty decent song.
One in a room.
I think it's generic metalcore.
I'm more with Kyle on
yeah.
this one. It's a fine metalcore song, but that's not really enough to move the needle for me at this point, especially with a sound like Asking Alexandria's at this point, which is pretty straight ahead generic metalcore.
I'm not trying to argue this is a good album. I'm just trying to justify why I have it.
That's fair
No,
enough.
That's okay, Jeff. That's okay.
I can,
It's
Jeff.
okay.
I concede.
Thank you.
If you put this up against A Day to Remember's You're Welcome, I'm taking You're Welcome.
I'm not.
To be quite honest, I might. But that's like the level of album we're talking about here. We're talking about bottom of the barrel, and it's not even the bottom of my list. And I think part of that is because the sound gets more and more painful the more times you hear it in a discography. It gets so grating and just so tired. Spoiler. Anyways, what a riveting album.
Folks, this is a perfect segue, and I'll just take the stand here and say that my number 7, Asking Alexandria record, is their 2020 Like a House on Fire.
Is it like a house on fire or like a house fire?
Doesn't matter. I'm not going to show this album respect.
That's a very fair.
Like a house
this
on fire.
is terrible.
It's so, can I say one thing? Can I be actually?
Kyle,
do you mind
go
if
ahead.
do you mind if I say my soliloquy and then have you guys tear it apart?
Yes.
It's not gonna. There's nothing pleasant about this album. The album cover is the most redeeming quality,
Yes.
and that's not a good thing, folks.
Yes.
If
I love the album
like
cover.
if you like hearing music sonically, the visual is not great. The fact that that's the best part about it. That's bad. That's bad. It's not what they're going
Yeah.
for. And I just want to say, this is a 15 song album that is at this level is cruel. I think the vocal delivery is hard to listen to. It is one of the most uninteresting and annoying albums I've listened to.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, with the budget Fall Out Boy shit era, with the budget disturbed post 2010, the, dare I say, budget Five Finger Death Punch. That's what this album is. Down to Hell. Thinking about uncles listening to this while working out is funny. That's funny. Antisocialist. Please stay away from me because I don't
Sounds
fucking
horrible.
like you. That's funny.
So cringe.
That's
So
funny.
bad.
All due respect, I inspire greatness. We, as Discog Discourse, are stuck in the shadows of
Mhm.
their greatness. In my blood. I'll be a giant. I am defiant. It's in my blood. They think like it's like they're singing to the uncles that are pulling up to Thanksgiving to start talking about, you know, the most divisive things possible. It's a hard album to get through. It's not great. It's badass rock, or uncle butt rock as I call it. And the only really redeeming quality is the vulnerability and the closing track of Lorazepam, which he can be somewhat vulnerable in the later albums. This is honestly, in my opinion, the only actually vulnerable track, talking about an anti-anxiety and depression medication and how he can't really function without it. That made me feel something. That put it above their self-titled. That is all I'll say.
Dang. All right,
That's
Jeff,
fair.
do you want to hop in here and I'll
And
This is a bad album. I don't want to finish on that. Sorry. This is a bad album.
I can certainly hop in. I hate this album with a passion. This album is horrible, absolutely terrible. If we're talking about the worst of the worst, this would be the Asking Alexandria album that I would compare to the rest of the bad albums of the world.
Yeah.
I do want to say
I
first
might
off,
listen to Mania before this.
I definitely would listen to Mania before this.
I would
without
too.
a doubt.
I would too.
I
would listen to Mania before 2 Asking Alexandria records. Sorry, Jeff.
No, you're good. First off, the album cover is amazing. And it made me wonder, is this the biggest discrepancy between how cool an album art is and the actual quality of the music? I'm serious. We need to think about this.
It might be.
Dude,
It's
great
way
point.
up there.
But
That may be a discussion we shelve for a later date because I love
Jeff,
that premise.
I think we should.
It might
You
be.
fire off with some profound stuff, dude.
Thank you. This album is disjointed. It's wonky.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable to listen to. It feels like they're tiptoeing the line between making a full-on pop album, but they don't want to go too far, so they pull back a little bit, and it just is a mess. It just does not work. Most of the songs on here are solidly poppy, but then you get like the radio arena rock in there, and it's just a weird combination that just doesn't work. The sounds and distortions that they try to add into the songs, especially at the beginning of the album where they're trying to go more experimental, just detract from the quality so much. The house on fire motif in the first song where they just keep repeating like a house on fire, but in the high-pitched scream, was so grating to my ears that I wanted to turn the album off, but I kept going. They don't want what we want. That song is so disjointed and wonky and weird. The bump tap over and over and over just can send you into a hypnotic trance and just make you forget where you are. And finally, Down to Hell, whenever a band makes a na 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 na, it's over. You know that the band is cooked, and
It's
I don't have much
only
else to
ever
say.
worked one time. It's worked one time in the entire history of music.
Shout out MCR.
Oh, I was thinking of Blink-182.
I was thinking of Ice
So
Nine
maybe
Kills.
it's worked 2 times in the
Worked 3
history
times.
of music. What's the Ice Nine Kill song with Na Na Nas?
I thought they had one. I'd have to go back and look. I thought they had one where it's kind of done like ironically though. Like a
Oh, is
children's
it
song.
It Is the End? Does that have some Nas in it?
It
Or
might,
no,
yeah.
it's Assault and Batteries. Na 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 na.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's worked 2 times unironically and 1 time by a band that's whole thing is gimmicky horror stuff. And so it's like on brand, you know, it's like
Exactly.
and that's not to say their thing is a gimmick. It is, but like that's not a bad thing. Like that's their image, you know, it's their persona is not to be taken seriously. So Nana Nanas do not work. And they certainly do not work by a band with the songwriting pedigree of Asking Alexandria.
Yeah, and I think it just shows where they're at in terms of the songwriting process, where they have to rely on the nas. It just this album is so bloated. It did not need to be 15 songs. Like half these songs could be cut out, and it's just not necessary. I could walk down every song and tell you what's wrong with them. There's nothing that works here. I didn't like a single song on this album, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that they put 15 songs on here is borderline like actually offensive and disrespectful to the listener because none of these songs are worth anyone's time, let alone 15 of them. 15. This album's an hour long and it's
Mm-hmm.
terrible. Like, it is awful. This is the one, Kyle, where I was saying, like, there's one that is even worse, even more bloated. It's
Mm-hmm.
this one. It's awful. And you've listed off all these bands that they are in the same realm as. The songwriting on this album takes it from being like a bad Fall Out Boy rip to being a full-on bad Imagine Dragons rip. Like, and people say, oh, it's Imagine Dragons core all the time about like other bands. It's never been more true than it is about this album. There are Imagine Dragons songs on this album. One Turns to None is an absolute travesty to listen to. It genuinely answers the question, what if we gave Imagine Dragons low-tuned guitars? And sonically, it's about as uninteresting as a song can be. Like, it's the kind of song that is engineered in a
Mm-hmm.
lab to play well at festivals and get crowd participation. But that approach on an album just falls flat for me almost always, but especially when the songs are this generic and boring.
Yep.
And that's like one of many lowlights on this album. And there are actually a couple that stick out as terrible like this. Give You Up is awful. Like, the pulsing bass line in that song and the chopped vocal in the chorus, it's just unpleasant. Like, it's just not, there's nothing redeeming about
Oh yeah,
it.
I hate that song. Mm-hmm.
And like, I haven't even touched on lyrics yet. That's all like sonic stuff, just the songwriting and production. One Turns to None. I'm an animal. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's
Dude.
wild.
Who's that for? I don't know. What audience are they
Uncle.
trying to get with that song?
Uncles.
I can't even imagine uncles listening to that. It doesn't work.
Honestly, Jeff, that's a really good point of who is that for?
It's like worst case scenario for when like one of your coworkers is like, "Oh, you like metal music? Do you like Asking Alexandria? This song is awesome, dude. You got to check it out." How old is Danny when this came out? Like, cuz this isn't it. There aren't lyrics this bad on their first album. Maybe.
That's questionable.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. Asking Alexandria has always had questionable lyrics, but there is a huge difference between a young band who is clearly just trying to have fun and a band that is going for big arena radio rock and doing it completely earnestly.
Agreed.
One of those is so much worse than the other, and I don't think I have to explain which one it is. Okay, I'm going to get on another little soapbox here. We need a term for the type of song that is a band complaining that their old fans don't like their new sound. Because to me, that is on the same level of cringe as a Misfit anthem. And they're becoming, I feel like they've been around a while, but I feel like I've heard a lot of them recently. And the song I'm referring to, of course, is They Don't Want What We Want, which is so just like crystal clear. Our fans don't like our new sound. And it's always the same kind of bands that pull out the victim card like this. And it's not the bands that are writing particularly strong songs after going more mellow. Like, a good band would just rely on their songwriting ability instead of complaining or moping about all the people that don't like them anymore. You can't say, we don't want what they want and we don't care in a song like this, because the fact that you wrote a song about it, an entire song dedicated to it, shows that you kind of do care a lot. And some fans can be annoying about it. Like, that's definitely true. But just in the same way that bands don't owe fans the same song over and over, we've talked about this before. Fans don't owe the band listenership or loyalty through bad songwriting. Like, listeners have every right to talk about your music, whether they like it or not. And that's like I said, like, it's always the same bands that do this. And it's not the ones that go melodic and still write interesting songs. Like, there is no world where Bring Me the Horizon or The Plot and You would waste breath on writing an entire song complaining about how their old fans don't like them anymore. And it's like, it's just so egregious and always comes off as mopey and really like shows a lack of confidence. And self-esteem. Like,
Yeah.
why do you care so
Yeah.
much what people think about your sound? Like, just make music that you care about, and if people don't like it, who cares? Like, it just screams, I'm trying to make music for money and
Yes.
please the biggest crowd of
Yeah.
people, and it's not working, and so now I'm gonna complain about it.
Here's the thing here, and it's almost a holy trinity or like a Venn diagram type thing where you've got that type of song, and you've got the kind of song of regret, which we'll discuss a lot on See What's on the Inside. And then you've got the I am a giant, I'm better than you guys, I'm gonna overcome. That's the three type. That's the holy trinity. I think it all overlaps into butt rock, right? Like I think it's all just butt uncle rock, and that's just one of the subjects that has entered the arena thanks to, in part, to Asking Alexandria. But that would be my take on that. But yeah, I agree, Nathan. It's hard to listen to, and it's hard to even take seriously. It's hard to take an album and a song seriously if it's any of those three subjects over and over and over and over again, which for Asking Alexandria, for 6 of their damn albums, that's what it is.
Yeah. And it's like, it also just kind of burns the bridge to a certain extent. Obviously, you're, I mean, even further alienating those fans who clamor for your old stuff. And spoiler alert, it's not because of the sonic change. It's because the songs aren't good. Like, there are a lot of people that like heavy music that also like more melodic stuff. Like, The Plot in You is the perfect example of a band that was very heavy at one time and now writes very interesting, like borderline pop rock tracks. And it's just like, it's because they're good songs. Like, it's just completely missing the point when a band complains about fans like this, because it's always the bands that go on to just write incredibly generic and uninteresting octane metalcore. It's never the bands that go on and actually do something creative and interesting or have something to say. Like, if you had something to say, you wouldn't be writing a song like this.
Yeah. It's kind of like when a YouTuber runs out of content, so they start making content about how little money their YouTube channel is making to try to hope that gives them more content.
The old Boogie special.
That's the Boogie, exactly. It's like this. It's like, let's write a song about how much our fans don't like us anymore. Let's write a song about how much we regret this old songs we made. You know, it's just grasping at content, trying to just bloat the album. Hopefully one of these will be a banger. Hopefully one of these will be a radio hit and make us a lot of money. It's a real shame.
Well, it's also funny because, like, it's happened multiple times where a band has written a song like this and then basically come crawling back to some extent. And Asking Alexandria, Architects big time. And it's funny because Architects' version of this was a heavy song, and they even did a bleh in it, which Sam Carter's been pretty vocal about. You know, the bleh is stupid. I wish I never did that. And then, so it's like, I get what he's doing there. It's very, very clever, Sam. But also, who is it for? Because that song isn't going to do well with the people that like your more modern sound. And it's completely throwing your old fans under the bus. So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation for that song. And Asking Alexandria also kind of does this. They don't go fully crazy heavy again, but there's definitely a change after this album that makes me think it really didn't do well. And so they started kind of backpedaling on their whatever this is, this miserable hour of my life.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that.
There's so many albums that are like not really enjoyable, but like I wouldn't really be upset if someone threw it on in the background while we were doing something else. This is one of the few albums that I think is actively terrible and has no redeeming qualities, and it's just bad music. Like, if you like this, I am on my hands and knees begging you to listen to more interesting bands. Like, this is disrespectful to you, the music consumer. It's just not good. Please listen to something else if you like this. It's terrible. I'm done. I'm done with this album for the rest of my life.
Me too. This is a yank. You got to yank the aux cord out of someone's hand if they're trying to play this.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. That's a lost privilege.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, I'm moving on.
I like it. Please.
Gonna reveal my number 6 favorite album.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way than to end the Holy Trinity run of self-titled Like a House on Fire. My number 5 favorite album is See What's on the Inside.
Yeah.
Nathan, you've got it number 7. Jeff and I have a number 6. Take the floor.
I think we're all on the same page here.
Take the floor, sir.
This is one of the albums I didn't know existed. It was this one in Like a House on Fire. And I'm pretty tuned in with what's happening in the metalcore world, you know, generic radio metalcore or otherwise. I did not know these two albums existed. And I missed that. I missed that time where I didn't know these two albums existed. This is definitely a step up from Like a House on Fire, but that's not really saying anything. And I think this is where we kind of get back into mostly inoffensive territory, just generic and largely uninteresting arena rock.
Mm-hmm.
Alone Again to open the album. It's bad in the sense that it's the same old Metallica riffs that the genre has been stuck on for literal decades. And so in that sense, it does nothing for the genre. It's all ideas that we've heard before, even down to the solo, which sounds like Metallica.
You know, I kind of like the solo.
It's a fine solo, but it's like, it's nothing special.
Here's the thing, though. When you listen to Asking Alexandria for 8 albums straight and you hear that solo, it's kind of nice. Sorry, I hate to cut you off during your soliloquy, but I wanted to.
It's really not bad. Like, a mediocre Metallica riff is so far ahead of a bad metal version of Imagine Dragons. Like, the gap between Like a House on Fire and this album is pretty substantial. And I remember we have an Avenged Sevenfold episode that we did, and I remember in that episode we talked about Hail to the King as kind of a Metallica rip. And if that's a Metallica rip, See What's on the Inside is a rip of Hail to the King. You know, it's the it's the cover of the cover, you know?
Dude, I have the exact same note.
That's awesome.
So sick.
I think it's true. It's like they heard Hail to the King and they were like, oh, that blew them up. Maybe we don't have to go Imagine Dragons, Fall Out Boy pop. Maybe we can do Metallica. Maybe we can try that route. And based on their follow-up album to this, I would probably reckon it didn't exactly work for them. And that's because, again, the songs are boring. There's nothing interesting about them. It comes down to this. There's just nothing to write home about. Production, it's fine. Vocals, fine. Lyrics, surface level, fine. I think there are a lot of bands out there that we've talked about that this would be their worst album. And it's pretty impressive that this isn't their worst album. Yeah. But it's I don't even have thoughts on this album. It's nothing. Again, it's nothing. And it's worse nothing than their other one, Asking Alexandria, because that album simply came first. And so at this point in their discography, I'm like, oh, 2 nothing albums. Yeah, the second one's gonna be worse. There is one song that made me laugh, and it is,
I guess.
I don't remember the name of it, but it's a song that opened with the lyric. Yeah, go ahead.
Can we guess? All right, Jeff, you and I are going to guess the song that made Nathan laugh. I'm going to say Fame.
That one is bad.
Made you laugh? I'm going to say Never Gonna Learn.
Oh, I bet that's it. The whistling at the beginning.
Yeah. That is bad. It's funny because this is an exercise in futility because I don't remember which song it is because I didn't write it down. But it's the song that opens with the lyric, "How do I kill myself?" It's not funny, but it's so jarring. Like, it's insane first lyrics. And it's kind of a
That's
more
honestly-
melodic ballad track. And I was like, okay, I know what this is gonna be. And then he says, "How do I kill myself?" I was just
find myself. That's what it is.
flabbergasted.
Find
Is that
myself
in
is
Find
the-
Myself?
How do I kill
Yes,
myself?
I'm myself.
Or the parts that have been created to please. Yeah,
Oh.
Nathan, if you don't mind, I'm going to segue off of that just into the trope of a song of regret, because that's what this album is. Every single song, at least the first like 6, Alone Again. You can tell by the title of the song. Alone Again. Faded out. Faded out. I want to be somebody, but I don't know if I am. Never gonna learn. If I could erase it, find myself. You've made it this far. See what's on the inside. Do you see what like it's funny to listen to because it's a part of the Venn diagram or the holy trinity, if you will, of the Uncle Butt Rock of like I feel bad. Oh man, if I could just change, but I can't because I'm so famous. You want fame? Fame is one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
Fame is horrible. Fame is horrible.
Just being like, so you want fame? Well, I have so much money, it's not even funny. Like, what are you? What? Dude, that sounds awesome. He literally goes, "It's not that great, but it is," which I've always thought is a funny trope in songs. Yeah, but that's all this album is to me. Is it's boring. It's I guess technically like personal and deep, but it doesn't break the surface of anything actual personal. It's just like I'm sad because I'm so successful. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say.
Well, and do you think Alone Again is like some kind of cheeky meta reference to the success of Alone in a Room? And like it's kind of an attempted return to form in the sense that, look, guys, we're doing metal again, and this isn't like a house on fire. We're doing Alone Again.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because Like a House on Fire was them trying to tip their toes into pop, and it didn't work.
I will say, I do like how they have the sticker of featuring Alone Again on the at least in Spotify. I did see that, and in my notes I said this is a bad indication if the opening track is this and this is what they're advertising legit on their album cover.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like they have so many songs about being alone. It's just tired lyricism at this point from them. Like,
it's very angsty.
Please find something new to write about, because like Alone Again and the closing track The Gray are both about being alone. And then beyond this album, like I just mentioned, you have Alone in a Room, and it's like it's just so generic. It's so tired. Jeff, do you have any thoughts on this one?
No, you guys basically covered it all. It's angsty. I like that they're running from the pop in this one more, so that's why I have it a little higher. I kind of like the style of this album a bit more. I think "Faded Out" is a good song, except for the new metal rap part that's in there. That just makes me cringe every time I listen to it.
Yeah, I think "Alone in a Room" too is probably the best song on here.
I agree.
And "The Gray," I think. Funnily enough, the two songs I was just complaining about, probably the two best songs on here.
But that's the thing.
But they've done their reps, they're practiced.
You mean "Alone Again"?
Yeah, "Alone Again," "Alone in a Room" too.
If Alone Again is what they are literally advertising on their album cover, it's not great. Even if that's the best song, and I think it is the best song on that album. Oh, Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Well, and is this a good time to talk about Annie Worsnop's Country real quick? Because there's a full-fledged country song in this album. See What's on the Inside is just a full-on country song.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, to be honest.
I wanted to clown on his country efforts in this episode. Like, I really wanted to. But I think his most recent country album is better than the 3 albums we just talked about.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, See what's on the
It's
inside
fine.
is I don't hate it. Like his country stuff is okay.
It's fine. He's got a good voice for country. Like I get why he wants to do that. And I feel like there have always been kind of country and western sprinkles in their sound at times.
Definitely.
Uh
Mhm.
so it's clearly something he likes. And I think he does it pretty well. Like especially his most recent album. Like it's fine. I am not an expert in country music and I'm not going to pretend to be one, but I would have to imagine it's pretty by the books country music based on what I do know about the
Probably.
genre. Um, but it's fine. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed these 3 albums.
Well,
Agreed.
Please get me out of here.
let's get out of here, guys, and let's
Get me out of
go.
here.
Let's go to my number 5, and this is, in my opinion, where the downfall started. My number 5 favorite or least favorite, well, I guess, forget it, is From Death to Destiny.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
Cook.
Come on, Nathan.
I
Come
like where your head's at.
come on,
I like
Nathan.
where your head's at.
Nathan have at number 5. Jeffrey has it at number 3.
Jeffrey.
Jeff,
Why don't you guys like this album? I'm actually shocked. Why don't you guys
we
like this album?
simply have to start
Because
with you,
it
please.
sucks.
Yeah, this album is asshole. Now go.
I don't know. I like this album. This is one of the 3 Asking Alexandria albums I actually enjoy listening to. Yes, it is a step down, in my opinion, from their first 2 albums, for sure.
Mhm.
It's definitely a step down. But I still think they keep a lot of elements from their first 2 albums in terms of the more traditional metalcore on here that I think work pretty well. And this album also offers a lot of strong choruses, theatrical elements that keep it interesting. I'm actually surprised you guys have it so low. There are definitely albums that are far, far worse than this that we still haven't talked about.
I don't know, dude.
What don't you guys like about it? It's like a pretty traditional metalcore
Oh
album.
no, man. This album is pretty bad. I mean,
Kyle, do you want to
it-
go or do you want me to jump in here?
I'll supplement you, Nathan. I want you to go.
Okay, let's see here. I agree. There are some elements on here that are not terrible, but those elements are generic and again, something we've heard before. And it just the overall quality of this album drops off pretty hard in their discography. And I think you can hear it from the jump. Don't Pray for Me gives you a pretty good feel for this album. And unfortunately, it's one of the highlights of the album. It doesn't get much better after this, if any better at all. But what you get here, especially after the minute 30 intro, cookie cutter riffs that lack any sort of sauce, generic metal drumming that lacks any kind of interesting kick patterns, and mostly just relies on fast double bass. There's just no depth to this sonically or,
Mhm.
I mean, lyrically. And I feel like a lot of the choruses on here feel really disconnected from the rest of the song. Like they're trying to find that balance of we're a metalcore band, but we also know how to do a good hook, and we're gonna lean a little more into that melodic side of it. And they don't quite find it on here. And to me, what this album feels like is a soulless product from a band that's trying to gain the respect of the metal community that has kind of belittled them throughout the course of their careers up to this point. And what happens is they become incredibly generic and basically end up sanitizing their sound in the process.
Yep.
Because
Nathan,
Asking
hey,
Alexandria,
Nathan.
go ahead, jump in.
Hey, Nathan, what do you think about White Line Fever?
Oh, dude, don't get me started on the back half of this album. The
Hey,
back
Nathan,
half of this
Nathan,
album
what do you
is
think about
bad.
The Road?
Terrible. The back half
Okay,
of this album
Yes. I agree. The back half of this album is not good. I will admit that right now.
Hold on,
is
Jeff.
not good.
Hold on, Jeff. Hey, Nathan, what do you think about Creature?
This is the one
Yeah,
I
that
want to
sounds
talk about. This is the song I want to talk about. Creature is really terrible.
It
The
is.
thing about Creature is the rock bottom for this album, in my opinion. And it was as I was listening to that song that it occurred to me that everything on this album kind of feels like the first draft. Like everything feels like a placeholder that a better band would then go back and replace with a better riff, a more interesting drum beat, a better lyric, better strings and atmosphere, better everything. It's like the placeholder to get the song structure and the very basic ideas down. And it all just feels so shallow. Like there was no real thought or passion that went into this at all. It was a band that had been kind of belittled by metal elitists for being metalcore and having synths in their whatever, this, that, and the other. And they looked around and said, okay, well, what do they like? Oh, they still like Slipknot a lot. Okay, well, let's do some Slipknot riffs and some Slipknot drum beats. And we'll do a little screaming here and there. But also at the same time, they kind of mess with Nickelback, right? Okay, let's do a Nickelback song and do White Line Fever, which has some of the corniest lyrics in the entire discography. Because this is the point where they go from kind of, oh, we're a fun young metalcore band to we want to be taken more seriously, and these lyrics are now mostly in earnest, and it is so bad. It is so bad. And this is kind of the first time you get that country rock influence, I think, and it just does not work on here.
Yeah, I agree. Very few redeeming qualities in this one. Nathan, I echo most of what you say. I think moving on is I mean White Line Fever to the end. Sorry,
Creature to the end.
Creature to the end is like almost. It's so hard to redeem anything from it. Break Down the Walls is one of the funniest songs. Break Down the Walls is in the Uncle Butt Rock Hall of Fame. That song stinks. That song is hard to listen to. And the only other dude, stop it. The only thing I'll say just to supplement Nathan is that it feels like you're allowed to make one of these albums. But you're only allowed to do that if you've made a truly unbelievable album before it. Or something that actually means something to the genre. And I'm not sure if they had the body of work to make this, respectfully.
I think it's closer than you would think. I might make the argument that they did have
but here's the thing. It usually doesn't happen this fast.
That's fair. That's fair.
That. I guess that's what I'll say is if it did feel like they were kind of going down the right track. And
I'm just surprised that you guys think this is more generic than Where Do We Go From Here, which we haven't even talked about yet. That album is generic, like so generic.
But this is too. We'll get there.
At least this one has screaming and a couple of breakdowns. Like that one.
So does that other album that has yet to be discussed.
Listen. It's not great.
Yeah. This is super random. But did y'all catch that Killing You and The Death of Me are like two songs with completely opposite messaging, and they're back to back on here?
I did not. Can you explain to the listener?
Yeah. So Killing You, the lyrical content is essentially what's killing me is I'm killing you. The death of me immediately following is I won't let you be the death of me. Two hilariously juxtaposed songs right there.
Do you not think that's intentional?
I don't.
Bro, Nathan, he's on a different level. Listen,
what I think.
There's gonna be a
What I
podcast episode evaluating this podcast episode, telling us how stupid we are to not see Danny's vision.
what I think happened there is they were in the studio and they were working on killing you. And then they had, maybe another idea for a riff that didn't quite fit the song. So they sat there and said, okay, well, let's rebuild that song just with this riff or this chorus or whatever that extra idea was that they couldn't fit in there. And then they basically just flipped it. That's my theory.
What do you guys think about Until the End? Because a lot of the generic talk and kind of the verse, bridge, chorus breakdown at the end, Until the End really has no traditional song structure. It's a really interesting song with a good feature.
But sonically, it's not very interesting. Like, it can have a unique song structure, but if there's not an interesting riff or an interesting hook or an interesting anything else, it doesn't matter. And I think that's where that song falls.
I honestly, nothing stuck out to me either.
Fair enough. Okay.
I think there are a couple pretty good heavy moments on here. Don't Pray For Me is fine. Run Free is fine. Poison is fine. Like, but the best parts of this album are fine. Like, and it's not even like full good songs. It's like songs with some good moments,
Right. So when you take the weighted average of all the songs, it plummets when you get to Creature, White Line Fever, and that stuff.
Yeah.
It nukes it.
Yeah, the back half of this album really tanks hard.
Yeah, the back half is really tough to listen to. That is true. I'll give you that for sure.
I agree.
Insane that an album of this quality is bordering the halfway point of this discography. And I think that speaks to how bad a lot of this discography is.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of the rest of this discography, are we ready, folks, to
go ahead.
hit my
I'll say quickly, I think things take a noticeable step up from here.
I think
I get a little more positive.
I think you're right.
From here.
I have songs that I rate where I would consider downloading. Not necessarily downloading, but I would consider it. I would be like,
thought crossed my mind. I'd be like, yeah.
If I were 14, damn, this would be on my playlist. My
if
number
I was
4
new to
favorite,
metalcore, this would be in my playlist.
Yeah. These guys would be my Anyways, my number 4 favorite is their 2023 album. Where do we go from here? Nathan, dude, we're back.
Hello, Kyle. This is the most similar you and I have been in a long time.
Let me just say, it's about damn time.
It is. It's been way too long.
Jeff's got this at number 7, and Jeff, I'll let you take it again since you are
7 is crazy.
Spot. It is crazy. Putting self-titled over this is funny and dumb.
There's
Jeff,
just nothing.
Jeff, please defend yourself.
Like I said, on self-titled, it had Eve, which is a song I really enjoy that song. I actually think it's good. Again, on this album, there's just nothing that stood out to me as worth remembering, worth downloading. I just feel like where do we go from here is very boring, very cookie cutter, very modern. There's just no memorable moments, no songs that stood out to me. It's beautifully produced. I'll say that. It sounds great from a technical perspective. It sounds really, really good. But otherwise, like I just there's nothing that stands out at all except for Psycho. Where
Come on.
where they tried to do something a little different.
How is that the bone you throw to this album?
Because at least it's a little different. Because it's like, okay,
that's like one of the worst songs on here.
It's an acoustic guitar. It's an acoustic guitar that starts with an R&B verse and then an Uncle Butt Rock chorus. It's the worst song possible.
My note on that song is things were going well until they went back to the Imagine Dragons ideas.
Yeah.
And that is to say, it's just a dark pop rock song made for arenas. That was my note on here.
Yeah.
Now, I will
Yeah,
say,
it's not good.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not good.
better than the last time they tried the Imagine Dragons thing,
agreed.
but it's still bad.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Jeff, if you wanted to throw a bone to this album, you'd
I'm a freaking
And-
psycho.
and we can talk about the definition of an interlude. I mean, how do you not throw it to Kill It With Fire? That's a great just 1 minute shot of adrenaline.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I do like Kill It With Fire. That's fair.
They literally hadn't done that in 10 years.
Yeah, the thing about that song, though, I do like it in a vacuum. It does not fit on this album
No, it doesn't.
in any way.
But hey, I'm fine with that.
I'd kind of like to hear like a full album of, hardcore punk influenced Asking Alexandria. I think that'd be pretty high on this list.
But Nathan, like you were talking about with Eve on self-titled, how is the Kill It With Fire not that kind of middle finger, like look what we can still do, but we choose not to do it? Except in this, it's just a minute long.
Yeah.
Wherein Eve was an actual full-fledged song that actually has a good hook and some heavy moments on it.
Because you know what? I'm a little bit mean-spirited, and this album, it feels kind of insincere with how heavy-handedly they bash their old fans for still liking their old heavy stuff. This feels like a band coming back and basically begging for forgiveness with their tail tucked between their legs. They're like begrudgingly returning to heavier ideas after struggling to find an audience in the mainstream. And I think that's a little bit funny. I do get a little sick enjoyment out of that. But also, I think in general, while this is pretty generic, it's better than their other generic albums. Like there are some moments on here that perk my ears up.
Can I just say, Let the Dead Take Me? That song is good. I'll say that.
Brother, that's got a na 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 chorus.
No, that's one of
Yeah,
the worst
but-
songs on the album, in my opinion.
The bass is gigantic, and it is kind of a fun song. It's got a little bit of different structure, and it seems like they're experimenting a little bit more. I do concede. What about Dark Void?
That song has a cool breakdown.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. It's like it's an inoffensive song with a good breakdown.
Mhm.
literally, yeah.
And that's better than most of their songs.
I like the drums on Things Could Be Different.
You know what? I actually think the first two songs on here are pretty good. Bad Blood.
Bad Blood is okay.
Bad Blood is pretty good. If you can get past the first 2 seconds of that song where they go, Bad Blood, then it gets pretty good. It's crazy that that's the thing that opens this album. But beyond that, that might be their best song on any of the albums that we've talked about.
No way.
It
That's-
genuinely might be.
Bad
I would
Blood.
I would definitely argue it's the best song since Danny came back to the band. Because, like, look, the chorus is actually catchy. The blast beats in the chorus is definitely the most interesting thing they've done in ages. Like, there's something about that contrast between the melodic chorus and the abrasive blast beats that I think is pretty enjoyable.
Blast beats are nice.
It's cool. Like it works well. And like
When you say it's cool, is it cool because you had listened to Asking Alexandria for a couple albums before this, and you were like, "Oh my god, I forgot this could happen."
it might be. It also reminds me of that Periphery song. Is it The Way the News Goes that has the chorus with the blast beats and it just keeps going? Fantastic song, fantastic album even. But to hear Asking Alexandria do blast beats like that again on this album, I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, that made my ears perk up and I kind of like that track. I also like Things Could Be Different. Nothing Left is also pretty good. I think that has one of the better breakdowns on this album. And there's just like, it's so interesting because despite this pretty clearly being a band coming back and begrudgingly doing heavy music again, it has more energy than the last 3 albums that came before it. And so it's like, yeah, it's insincere, but even in insincere, heavier Asking Alexandria is better than the sincere and earnest. I don't even know if those albums are sincere because it's a band trying to find an audience and success.
Fair.
So I'll take a heavy insincere over a poppy insincere, I guess is what I just learned about myself.
I'm in the opposite camp. I hate the thrown in 15 seconds of heaviness on each song. It's the same thing that Fit for a King was doing, and it really soured my taste with them as well, because it really is like you could have been doing this the entire song, you just chose not to, but you threw it in because you knew you'd make some of your fans happy. And
well, you know, that's just the formula.
It is the formula, and the breakdowns are always at the same point of every single song, about 2/3 of the way through, after 2 choruses and then the bridge.
Yeah. You know, it's the radio metalcore formula. It's what's in right now. And I mean, for the past 10 years and probably will be for the next 10 years. It's the formula that never dies.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think they do it better on this album than they've ever done it before. Like, there are no blast beats on self-titled. That in and of itself is a more interesting idea, a riskier idea than anything they've done in a long time. Like that. Look, blast beats feel pretty tame to me at this point, but that is a barrier to entry for a lot of people. And I get why. Like, it's super loud and abrasive, but like I think it works and they pull it off here. And there are things on this album, you know, people were saying, you know, oh, is Asking Alexandria back? And I think they said that for a reason. You know, like this is pretty good. And it's not great. This is all relative to what we've been talking about. I don't have a single song downloaded from this album. Bad Blood, I thought about it. It's got some pretty good moments. But at the end of the day, it's just paint by numbers metalcore. And that just happens to be the best thing in their discography that we've talked about so far, which is sad because we're approaching the top 3.
We are approaching the top 3. I have nothing else to say on this album, Jeff.
No, I think we covered it. You can keep going, Kyle.
All right. Well, my number 3 favorite Asking Alexandria album is The Black.
Kyle, I don't think we've ever been more back.
Dude, this is nice, Nathan. We kind of might. I feel like I know where you're going to go with your number 1, and I think I might go different, but it's been a good ride. I mean, we're hand in hand right now. We both have it at number 3. Jeff has it at number 4.
You know what, Kyle? All it took was an absolutely terrible band to get us on the same page. You know, this is our resyncing moment. You know, we're syncing back up.
It took a band that was actually hard to listen to and to take notes on for 6 albums for us to become in the same spot. Let me kick us off real fast. I don't have a whole lot on this album, but there are some bright spots which is a contrast from the rest of the discography up to this point, respectfully. Let me note that Jeff, Nathan, and I all have the same number 1 and 2s. And
yeah,
I am very appreciative of that. And I think that, you know, that shows how good of taste we've got. I think this is an obvious step up from Death to Destiny. I think the opening track, Let It Sleep, and The Black are good. I think those are good metal songs. I think it kicks us off in a way where there is emotion in the delivery. It is heavy. You feel the guitar, you feel the production and the atmosphere. Honestly, those 2 songs are almost enough to put it over From Death to Destiny, which kind of sucks in some ways, like just as a discography itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got other songs like Sometimes It Ends, which they swung big. I think they hit big. It's got a big bass. The chorus sucks. Let me just say that. The chorus stinks. But it's got a big breakdown. It's got a big feel in the verse and the intro. And I think it's an inoffensive, solid song. Send Me Home. The whoa, whoa, who's to start is bad. And it does sound like a worship song at the beginning. But what? I do think the chorus is pretty good and the range is nice. It's
it's like a worship song meets Bullet for My Valentine almost. There's a little bit of Bullet in those vocals.
Yep. I think Undivided is a nice heavier track, even though it's a little more generic. And that's why this is my number 3 album. I think this album is more bad than it is good. Let me say that. And I've just talked about the good. Let me go over the bad real fast. Circled by the Wolves is hilarious. The lyrics, Circled by the Wolves, they want me dead. Look me in the eyes. I'm no longer afraid. This is the beginning of some of the worst lyricism I've ever heard. A 6-album stretch of bad lyrics starts in this album. Just a Slave to Rock and Roll is a laughably bad track, in my opinion. The lyrics are hard to listen to. This honestly, Fall Out Boy might have taken a couple pointers from this record lyrically when they kind of went into their bad, unpleasant era.
You know what that song kind of reminds me of? Attila, which I had never made the connection that they were like kind of country leaning in some of their heavier elements. They got a little bit of that Atlanta in them. You know, for a song called Just a Slave to Rock and Roll, I think I might be higher on it than you guys. It is the cringe rock and roll thing that we kind of talked about last episode that Every Time I Die somehow avoids. Asking Alexandria does not fully avoid it, but I don't think that song is terrible.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. I overall, one of the more redeeming qualities of this album is the album cover. I think the album cover rules. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Almost as cool as, maybe more cool than like A House on Fire. I think I might actually give it, since the music is better. But that's all I got.
Include the music on a cover art comparison.
Well, maybe I can, Jeff.
That's
who's leading? Hey, who's leading the episode? That's all I got on this one, guys.
This is an interesting album because there's an elephant in the room whenever we're talking about it, right? This is the album where Danny was not there. He was replaced by Dennis. And so
who turns out to be a terrible person. But we're not going to linger on that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I was going to say though that I don't like his screaming vocals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I just think they're a little more high pitched, a little less pleasant to the ears, a little less understandable. And so that detracts from the album a little bit. But what I was going to say is that a lot of people would toss this to the bottom of the list automatically due to the fact that Danny is not here. I think a good section of Asking Alexandria fans would throw this at the bottom just due to that fact alone. I really do think so. And for me, the fact that a lot of the lyrics on this album are directed towards Danny and are kind of cringe is a big reason why this landed in 4 and not 3 or higher. Because I do think that there was a lot of good on this album, Kyle, like you said. But then you get to songs like Sometimes It Ends, where it includes the interview, where they're just talking about Danny. That to me, that is a hard listen.
But the song is good.
Yeah, but it's hard to get even to the song when I have to sit through the interview part, and it just makes me like, oh, why did you guys do this? Like, why is this on here? And there are other moments like that as well throughout the album. And so I think musically, sonically, this album is really fun. I think there are some good bouncy riffs on here. I think the energy is high. I think the breakdowns are good, solid. But what detracts is, one, I think Dennis's screaming is not good. I do think that his cleans are actually quite good and very comparable to Danny's at this point in their career. But the screams, I definitely don't think that they're as good. And secondly, the lyrics and just the point of the album, the fact that they actually say that they went back and changed almost all the lyrics on these songs, that when Dennis joined, that's hard. And so it's hard for me to not get that elephant out of the room whenever I'm thinking about this album and kind of putting it where it ranks.
Yeah. I think for me, this is a pretty solid rebound following from Death to Destiny. And a lot of my complaints with that album, the lack of interesting riffs, vocals, and anything is kind of a non-issue on here. And I think a lot of what works about this album is that the era it came out in, like, it's generic metalcore for an era of metalcore that was really, really good. This is pretty clearly an album that came out in the wake of Sepultura by Bring Me the Horizon. at a time where bands had then heard that album and were immediately inspired by it or impressed by it in some way, or, cynically saw that it was successful and thought, okay, how can we implement some of those elements into our sound? And I think Asking Alexandria does that pretty dang well on here, because I think it's not just a pure Bring Me the Horizon rip. It's Asking Alexandria with some Bring Me the Horizon influence. Like, there's some big soaring synths on here. Some of the song structure, even some of the vocal delivery from Dennis is very ollie coded at times. And I think what you get is a pretty enjoyable album. This is the first album in this discussion that I would say is actually enjoyable to listen to, not just on a song by song level, but as an album. Like, I could throw this on and never be too upset by it. Like, I'll have a pretty decent time, especially if it's just on in the background, which that is a really backhanded compliment. But I think there's some like really good songs on here. Let It Sleep is great. There's a
Yeah.
really nasty breakdown that kind of comes out of nowhere in the first verse to kind of catch you off guard and like, oh, we're throwing one in right now. And it hits. And I think it's really effective. It's very variation from the formula that we were talking about, and it's done really well. And I think that in that breakdown, you hear kind of how crazy some of Dennis's screams can be in the heavier moments on this album. And Jeff, it's so funny that that's one of the things that detracts from you. His vocals are one of the highlights for me. I think, especially when they're going really heavy and he really digs into some lows, it's pretty awesome. Like, I think it's
Yeah, his
really
lows are good. I will say his lows. It's mostly the highs.
That's fair. I kind of like the highs too, though. They complement each other really well to me. I also think Sometimes It Ends is pretty dang good. You're talking about the interview portion, which, yeah, but the song itself, it's good. You get some of those Asking Alexandria style riffs, but also that sempiternal influence that I was talking about. That's kind of unfair because Asking Alexandria always had synths as a predominant part of their sound
Yeah.
up to this point, but it's very different stylistically, right? Like, on here, it's very big and atmospheric, and they drive a lot of kind of the hooks and act almost more as pads at times than the crazy buzzy synth leads that you get on the albums before this.
Yeah.
And it's just there are good songs on here. I think Will Be Okay and Undivided are solid. Not quite on the same level as the two that I just mentioned. And I do have to confess, The Lost Souls, which is a unmistakable Misfit anthem. It is. I'm not going to try to say it's not, but I think it's pretty good. For a Misfit anthem, I actually kind of enjoy that song. And yes, the lyrics are cringy, obviously, because it's a Misfit anthem, but I've never gone to Asking Alexandria for lyrics. And it's one thing when, lyrics are a little eye roll inducing, but mostly passable, which has not been the case for most of our discussion so far. But the lyrics are whatever. The riff and the breakdown around the 2-minute mark coming out of the second chorus is super cool. And I love how theatric it is. And that kind of sonic atmosphere really elevates that song above just being another Misfit anthem in the bag. Ugh, those are so bad. But this one's not. And so, like, what I think you get here is a pretty strong album. If even the miss tracks are pretty passable, like, that's way better than anything we've talked about so far. Like, this is a more consistent album than From Death to Destiny, and it's not particularly close. The back half of that album is terrible.
I agree with that.
And so for me, I mean, it's more consistent, and the highs are noticeably higher than From Death to Destiny. It's pretty. I think this is undeniably a better album than anything we've talked about so far.
Agree to disagree on that last point. That very last point you had there. Agree to disagree on that one, but I have it close, and I do think that it's close.
Look, and maybe it's just me, but I will take an album that is more influenced by Bring Me the Horizon than an album that is more influenced by Slipknot. And I think that's mostly because Slipknot's been around so long and so many bands have done that at this point. And yes, a lot of bands have also copied Bring Me the Horizon. Uh, and there have been some terrible albums as a result of that. But I think generally what you're going to get is more interesting than what you would get if you were doing copy and paste Slipknot riffs and drums at this point. And that's my take on the Black.
Yeah, fair enough. Kyle, any last thoughts?
Shout out Slipknot. Their self-titled album is one of the best ever,
Oh, for sure.
my
Yeah,
opinion. But that's beyond the point, boys.
Well, let it be known that I do like that Slipknot album. I like the album after that too. But we've heard it. I mean, it's been 30 years.
Also,
almost.
we can safely say that's not necessarily what Asking Alexandria was going for.
I think they were going for it a little bit on From Death to Destiny. There's a little bit of very blatant Slipknot riffing and drumming.
I don't know, man. I think they would probably go for
the first drop in the opening Don't Pray For Me is so bargain bin Slipknot. It's bad.
but here's the thing. I don't feel like that's self-titled or Iowa. I feel like that's more subliminal verses or All Hope Is Gone. Which again are two somewhat redeemable albums, but like,
oh, definitely. I think those albums have great songs on them.
I think Subliminal Verses is phenomenal. All Hope Is Gone is all right. But
Slipknot episode?
Dude, we have to. I think we really legit should, maybe the next one. But anyways, guys.
I think we need a guest to do Slipknot.
Probably right.
I think that. But anyways,
guys, back to Asking Alexandria.
A much better band.
Oh my God, why are we talking about slop?
Slop not.
Slop not. All right. My second favorite, and when I say favorite, I now kind of mean it because I do enjoy this album.
These albums are good.
Asking Alexandria album is, drumroll, Reckless and Relentless. Ooh, I knew it.
Kyle.
Yes. I'm so happy you said. I would have bet.
We're so bad.
I would have bet you would have been on the other side of that. Oh
No,
my
sir.
gosh, this is
Album,
this is good.
It's great. This is a good album, but it's
It's an
not
actually unironically good album. But it is Jeff's number one. Out of courtesy, Jeff, please give us your spiel.
My spiel is simply that this is a phenomenal album. It hits all the right boxes, in my opinion, for being their best album. You have the intro that sets the atmosphere, and then throughout the rest of the album, you get the theatrical moments, the strings following the main riffs on some songs that just are so perfect. And you get interesting song structures like To the Stage, which is a kind of a weird song, but I think it's really, really good.
So good. And
then you get to the end with Morte Dabo, which is like a weird satanic song, but I think it's
still cool.
I almost wish they would have played more into the Satanism a little bit, because they have the choir at the beginning.
Clip that. Clip that.
They have the satanic choir at the beginning of the song. And then it just kind of doesn't play a role really in the rest of the song. Instead, they opt for more just throwing synths and weird beeping and alien noises in the background instead, which I was fine with. But I kind of wish that they kept with the more evil presence to end the album.
Yeah.
But it's still a great song, though. Really interesting.
I wish they leaned more into the Satanism. I wish it was more evil. I could do without the beeping.
Only on an Asking Alexandria album.
Yeah, dude. That's so funny.
But, when you're talking about these two albums, Reckless and Relentless and Stand Up and Scream, they're both really, really good, duking it out for 1 and 2, obviously, for both of us. I think what puts me above this album is that I think it's produced a little better. I think it doesn't get interrupted so much by the dance beat that Stand Up and Scream has so many of those interrupting the song to add in the dance beats. Or in this, they don't do it as much on this album, which I think is good. There's way more strings and theatrical orchestral moments on here, which I much prefer compared to Stand Up and Scream. I think that the lyrics don't take away nearly as much as they do on Stand Up and Scream, where the lyrics are downright awful on some of the songs. I think here's a little bit more mature. And so all in all, I think here you get a lot more of a complete, cohesive package from start to finish. There are no skips on this album at all, in my opinion. And I think with the heaviness, the breakdowns, and the theatrics going on throughout the entire album, it's a really fun listen. And I think it's their best album. And that's my spiel.
Yeah, man. Like, Asking Alexandria's fall off needs to be studied. Because how do you go from two albums like Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless to Like a House on Fire? Like, that fall off is catastrophic.
Well, unfortunately, I think we know the answer. It's money.
Money talks.
Money talks.
They have 3 million monthly listeners, and they haven't put out a good album since this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm sure there's probably a good handful of those listeners that are the legacy fans that like these two albums and don't listen to anything else, like me. But it's still insane that 3 million people listen to this band actively.
I think plenty of the fans that are current listeners are listeners like us that are listening Legacy.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up listening Legacy.
I don't know. A lot of their bigger bangers on their newer albums have 100 million streams. Some of them.
Yeah, their biggest songs are from their self-titled album.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if they're all Legacy listeners.
That pisses me off. Makes me, dude. I like actually have a problem with that record. But
okay, but why do you guys have this at number 2 and not number 1? I'm curious. What keeps this?
I think, and I'll obviously talk about this more when we go over my favorite Stand Up and Scream. I think Stand Up and Scream has more character, more personality in this album. I think it's more unique, and I'm kind of a sucker for that bizarre marriage of heavy screaming breakdown, going for it, and the dance synth. We kind of saw that with Famous Last Words, where they have that dance synth, that dance pop in a song like Labyrinth and a song like Interlude. And that album came out 2012. This album came out in 2009. And there's just kind of a clear, at least, influence pipeline with Stand Up and Scream. I want to talk about Reckless and Relentless, though. Jeff, that's to answer your question. That's why I have Stand Up and Scream over, is I feel like it just has a little more uniqueness, a little more character to it.
Okay.
Just in regards to Reckless and Relentless, the production is, to your point, Jeff, on another level. It does still kind of have some of that synth that I like, dance synth that I like. The vocal layering, complexity, and crispness do make it sonically better. Like, just from a listening experience,
definitely,
I think it's better than Stand Up and Scream. There is some generic slop sprinkled throughout, but not much, and it's always covered up with something that I'm not expecting. Right, like Dear Insanity, I think is an extremely hard song.
It's so good. That's one of the best songs on here.
Oh, dude, discography. That's a top 10er.
Yeah. Oh, easily.
Closure is a really cool song. I think
A Lesson Never Learned.
Yep.
Yes, that's one's high for me. That's my favorite song in the discography. Is A Lesson.
That's one of my favorites too.
Oh my gosh, just the emotion, the theatrics, the beautiful marriage of the fun, bizarre, niche dance pop synth with a grand chorus it's a lot of fun. I think Another Bottle Down is really is a really fun song as well. It's got a lot of power to it and an interesting delivery, really nice theatrics for the time as well. Morte at Dabo, that song goes extremely hard.
Yeah, it's
It
really
does.
good.
And so, yeah, I have some problems, like in Breathless. I think the chorus really takes the speed out of that song. That song is really, really interesting. Well, maybe not really, but it's got power until the chorus. I feel like the chorus in a lot of these tracks kind of kills it. That's why I don't have it rated as high, but I did genuinely enjoy this album.
Yeah, that's a good point on Breathless. Actually, that last note that he holds on the chorus, it's almost like he holds it a bit too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, this is a step up in a lot of ways from Stand Up and Scream in terms of the production, even sometimes how heavy some of this stuff feels. Kyle, you said there's some generic slop on here. I don't think I'd go that far, but I think that does kind of get to the heart of why this is number 2 for me. All of this is really enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would not be upset if I was just had this on. The back half on the whole starts to blend together a little bit from song to song until the last 2 or so tracks, which are fantastic. For me, all of the highlights on here are right up front. Dear Insanity is absolutely insane. One of their best hooks, great heavy moments, fun theatrical elements. It's the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle, if you will. Closure's really good. Again,
I will.
fun, heavy, jumpy synth at the end, which is always Asking
Yes.
Alexandria with the synth is like perfect to me. So good. And then A Lesson Never Learned. Insane track. Great breakdowns, really fun riffs, and the strings throughout it are so good. I do almost feel like it might be better without the chorus, but that's like a super nitpick at this point because I really don't have much that I dislike about this album. It's really good. And I think another difference between this and their debut is there's less synth and more strings, which, Jeff, I know that plays right into why you love it so much.
Exactly.
I kind of like synth branded Asking Alexandria more than theatrical branded. And it's just like,
I'm right there with you, Nathan, and I don't know if I would usually say that about my preferences.
I agree. I generally like more theatrical, more string oriented, that more, I guess, natural cinematic sound. But there's just something about the pure fun factor of that first album that, I mean, we'll get to here in a second, I think. That is just like, it's a blast. It's one of those things where it almost feels like it shouldn't work, but it completely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have many other thoughts on this album, which is kind of unfair that we talked about really terrible albums for so long and then got to a really good one and we're like, yeah, it's really good. All right, moving on.
I don't know, I think Jeff put it pretty well, and
Yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic album.
I would say
really
it's a
is.
classic. I would say these two are classics. Like I would
Oh,
recommend to
completely.
everyone who wants to get into this genre to go listen to them.
Yep.
yeah,
And that gets to, what Kyle was saying earlier about, you can get away with one of these albums in your discography if you have a classic. These 2 albums, especially Stand Up and Scream, are certified metalcore classics. And that album, I think, actually did kind of do numbers for the genre in a sense, where it was
Yeah.
like, it is the, you know what, Kyle, I'll just let you introduce it and we can continue this conversation because I think
yeah.
we're moving.
And to your point again, in regards to making an album like From Death to Destiny, it just happens so fast after Reckless and Relentless. And it left me so disappointed after listening to that album. And then, I mean, the segue to my favorite album, Nathan's favorite album, Jeff's second favorite, Stand Up and Scream. Does just kind of go back to that preference and that almost goofy synth throughout this album is lovely. The final episode It's such a good
Classic.
song. And
Classic.
the crazy frog synth that comes in like 3 minutes in is so it's so fun. It really is so fun. It makes me and if you'll remember with my famous last words sentiments, I
Mhm.
loved their debut because of the weird dance synth that they put in throughout.
Yeah.
And I'm not savvy enough with the I guess the subgenre. I wonder if Asking Alexandria was one of the first that went full in and got real successful from
I
just
think
kind of yeah.
Yeah, I think they're definitely like the ones that spearheaded the sounds and the sense of making it popular. Like this
Yeah.
album, is what I would consider kind of a monumental album in metalcore, which is really
Mhm.
funny considering how youthful it is, how goofy it is, and how it's like not a serious album by any means. But I think it's a perfect example of one of those albums that, they're clearly not taking themselves too seriously, but they take their music seriously, at least to some level, because these breakdowns slap. like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like the perfect balance of taking your craft seriously, but not taking yourselves too seriously. And I think the end result is a pivotal album in metalcore history. Like this shaped the genre for a number of years after it with that heavy synth. Like it's one of the landmark albums of the time. It's like this and that Attack Attack album were like
Yeah.
Mhm.
kind of the staples of the scene core synth heavy stupid breakdowns, electronic dance beats. Like it's that package in that era of metalcore, which again the elitists looked at and turned their nose up to. Their loss, because this
Yeah.
music is so fun.
It's really fun. And you look at a stretch like Illyrion through if you can't ride two horses at once.
Yeah.
I mean that stretch of songs are really, really, really good songs. If you can't ride two horses at once is so cool.
Yeah.
That's such a cool song. And my personal, I guess, between my first and second favorite song is Hey There, Mr. Brooks. I think that's also a
So good.
phenomenal track. Just with the massive guitars, the catchy chorus, and the ending is awesome.
Absurd.
I was really surprised when I cracked this album open to start how much I enjoyed it and how many songs I downloaded off of it.
Yeah. It's so good. That song, I think, also has one of their best choruses, not only on this album, but maybe in their discography. So
Yes.
good.
I 100% agree. And I think an album like this, and Reckless and Relentless does put the others down because as Jeff has been saying and as we've been kind of discussing but Jeff has been spearheading is they can do it. They can obviously do it. Their main songwriter, their main songwriter has been there. Danny through most of the band's life. They can do it.
Mhm.
Just like why don't they? Like these two albums are legitimately really, really good.
Yeah.
Especially Stand Up and Scream. And so
Yeah.
It's
I don't get it. I don't
and
get
like
it.
all of the big hits on here are so good. The final episode, it's so funny that, I think for a lot of people, Asking Alexandria was like one of their gateway bands into heavy music because, like we were talking about, it was like a monumental album in metalcore in terms of spearheading this sound. They were never that band for me. They were never a band that really got me into
Same.
this style. They were always ones that I was pretty aware of. I knew the final episode, everyone does. And it's just like, yeah, I can see how it got a lot of people into this, but it was never that band for me. And yet, despite that, they were maybe the first metalcore band I ever saw live because I saw them open for Bullet for My Valentine, of all bands. Funny they get mentioned twice here. In like 2016, as I was like really dipping my toes into heavier music. And it didn't quite click for me at that show, what makes it great. But looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. And it's like the riffs in that song are so simple, but it's so memorable. like the dun, dun, oh my dun, dun,
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's so simple that it gets stuck in your head like a hook. And then like the other big hits on here, Not the American Average. The breakdown at the end of that song is absurd. And then I was once possibly maybe perhaps a Cowboy King. Second half of that song with all the synths and the breakdowns like just changing it, one of the best moments on the album in my opinion. So like all the hits are great. And then they're supplemented with those deeper cuts like Hey There Mr. Brooks. If you can't
Mhm.
ride two horses at once. I used to have a best friend. A Prophecy. Like every song on here is good and really
Yeah.
enjoyable. It's and even the hiatus interlude is pretty dang sick. Like it's a really enjoyable interlude track.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
there's just something about this era of metalcore. And I think I mentioned this in
Yeah.
the We Came as Romans episode with like the super choppy riffs. It was just special, you know?
Yeah.
And if this was the quote unquote generic metalcore at the time, man, how far the genre has fallen when you're comparing it what's popular in the genre then and what's popular in the genre now. And obviously then it was a fairly new genre, or I guess it was evolving into this sound. Obviously metalcore has been around for longer than this album. Asking Alexandria did not invent metalcore with Stand Up and Scream, unless maybe.
What, Nathan? You don't think
Yeah.
that a vapid R&B track over a guy who goes "When we were made" is metalcore? That was a sleep token. That was a sleep
oh
token
no,
shot
I
for those.
look.
I like sleep token, by the way. I
I'm
did
gonna
not
pl-
like the newest album,
I'm
but I
gonna
like.
plead the fifth on that. Yeah, I do not like Sleep Token, and I don't really love where the genre is at in terms of like the radio stuff, which is fine. But it's also why something like the new Callous Cowboys album sticks out so much to me as a great album. It's
Agreed.
like this is so fresh, so exciting, so innovative in a lot of ways, and that's the kind of stuff that I look at. And I'm like, that's album of the year. Sleep Token,
Mhm.
not so much. Respectfully.
Until,
Or
until we get
disrespectfully.
Vessel on the show.
No, I don't even. I wouldn't say no. to
You
that.
would not say no to Vessel.
You would not say no.
That would be the biggest. That would bring in
You
so
idiot.
many people.
I have integrity.
Yeah, then Jeff and I will head that one up. We'll be like, Vessel, we've actually converted to the sleep token religion, and we are really interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Corny band.
Okay.
This is slightly tangential but relevant to Stand Up and Scream. This is what I want to say. Stand Up and Scream is a testament and an example as to why we need to keep encouraging younger people to make metal music. This is an album that only a group of young, creative, risk-taking people could make. As musicians get older, they stop taking as many risks. And I think Asking Alexandria's discography is a perfect example of that. That once you get set in your ways and you have an audience, you don't want to lose it and you don't want to take risks.
Yeah.
But then you don't create albums like Stand Up and Scream or Reckless and Relentless. Those are albums that only a group of ambitious, risk-taking, younger individuals could really make. So we need to keep encouraging young people to go and make metal music so we can keep having creative, groundbreaking albums and not as many, Sleep Token albums, I guess.
You like Sleep Token. You're not allowed to say that.
I do love Sleep Token. I think I'm the biggest Sleep Token fan out of us three. So
Oh, easily.
Jeff, you're back at being profound. That's a great word.
Now, that said, there are some artists who have been around a while that are doing exciting things right now. Bill Murray, my genre fusion king, he's been around forever. He was in Attack Attack. Like, he's been around the genre a long time. And he's doing interesting things with it now.
even Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been around a long time. They've always stayed fresh. So it's not a universal thing, but on the whole, you're absolutely correct. The young, exciting bands that are pushing the genre forward are certainly the ones that catch my attention more.
Yeah, and Stand Up and Scream is just so youthful and energetic and fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
it's so good.
That's good stuff, folks.
I think that about does it for
I got nothing else.
for this. Well, in that case, Kyle, can you run us through your list, going through all of these albums that you loved so much
Yes. Yes. My number 8 is Asking Alexandria, the self-titled. My number 7 is Like a House on Fire. My number 6, See What's on the Inside. Number 5, From Death to Destiny. Number 4, Where Do We Go From Here? Number 3, The Black. Number 2, Reckless and Relentless. My favorite, Asking Alexandria album, Stand Up and Scream.
Brilliant. All right, fellas, we got one more thing. As you know, we have a Patreon. If you want to support the show, thank you so much to everyone over there who is already subscribed and enjoying the bonus episodes and insider information and maybe some more things, some bonus episodes. We appreciate y'all so much, and your ongoing support means the world to us. We have 3 patrons now who are on the diehard tier, which means they know who we're listening, know who we're ranking ahead of time, and can send us their list for us to play on the show and react to. So we're going to jump into that now. And this first one is from the day one, Derek.
Dude.
Let's check out his list for Asking Alexandria. I'm very excited.
Derek is the best, dude.
You already know it. From worst to best. The Black. See What's on the Inside. Where Do We Go From Here? Self-titled. Like a House on Fire. From Death to Destiny. Reckless and Relentless. Stand Up and Scream. Too easy.
Once again, Derek shocking me with his least favorite album. I don't know how he does it every time. His least favorite album is such a bad take, and then his list is good after that. It's absurd how he does it.
But Jeff called that.
I'm saying, people do that because it's not technically like quote unquote an Asking Alexandria album without Danny.
Yeah, so, but arguably that's what makes it good.
Oh, I don't know about that. But if that's why he's doing it, then I totally get it. And I think the rest of his list actually lines up pretty close to mine.
That does.
Like a House on Fire was pretty high.
It was. Like a House on Fire was pretty high. That's the only change.
But at the end of the day, as long as everyone puts Stand Up and Scream or Reckless or Relentless, but mostly Stand Up and Scream at number 1, I'm not going to have any qualms with it, because ultimately everything after Reckless and Relentless doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Like, there are 2 albums that I care about your ranking on, and even then, if either one of those is 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. So there's a leeway there.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, thank you so much.
Derek, you're the man.
This next one is from Seth, another longtime diehard. Here's his list.
My ranking of Asking Alexandria's discography. At number 8, Like a House on Fire. Number 7, See What's on the Inside. Number 6, Where Do We Go From Here? Number 5, From Death to Destiny. At number 4, The Black. Number 3, Stand Up and Scream.
Oh my gosh.
Number 2, they're self-titled. And at number 1, Reckless and Relentless.
Brother was cooking
the wheels
until the top
off.
3. The wheels fell off in the back there.
I was like that. Nathan, he was reading your list.
I know. I was like, man, he is on a roll. He is doing so well. Like, I'm like, yes. Wait,
You're
where's
like,
self-titled?
Hey,
yes.
You're like, self-titled will be next. Self-titled will be next. Self-titled will be next. Oh no.
Self-titled over Stand Up and Scream is wild to me.
It's funny though, because Seth and Derek sound the exact same, at least to me. So
well, you know what, Kyle? People probably say that about the 3 of us.
They do. Carson literally told it to our virtual faces when we talked to him when he was on the show a couple years ago.
He can't tell who's talking sometimes. Isn't that what he said?
Seth, thank you, Seth, for that almost good ranking. But because of one fatal flaw, that ranking sucked.
Is this? Do we need to rebrand this segment as we roast our patrons list?
They keep sending them in. So listen, and
We're doing something right.
They are legit the best. Like
they are.
I appreciate them.
All right, this last one This gentleman changed his name on Patreon. And I'm going to go by his username in Patreon until he tells me otherwise. I don't know if he wants his name out there or not. He'll hear this and let me know. So this is from Soulway.
All right. In last place, I have self-titled. In 7th, I have From Death to Destiny. In 6th, I have Where Do We Go From Here? In 5th, I have Like a House on Fire. In 4th, I have The Black. In 3rd, I have See What's on the Inside. In 2nd, I have Reckless and Relentless. And in 1st place, I have Stand Up and Scream. All right. Thank you.
That's a great list.
He cooked.
That's a great list.
What can I say? He cooked. I mean, like, he sounded super excited to do it too at the top. All right. Which is kind of how we came into this episode. We were like, yeah, Asking Alexandria. Woo.
It's true, dude. He
To
couldn't
talk about
stomach-
2 really good albums. We got to talk about 8.
Thanks so much for sending that in.
Yeah. Thank you guys
The
so
best.
much for
Thank you.
sending us your lists and letting us roast you a little bit.
Kind of. Not that. Not really, though.
Not any more than we would roast each other.
Exactly.
Which I'm
It's
not
all
sure
it's all
that's a
good fun.
bar.
Which means you're my best friend.
Which means you're the only person I talk to about music on a personal level. All right. Thank y'all so much for your ongoing support of the show, whether it be on Patreon or through subscribing and liking the show or interacting with us on socials. All of that means a lot to us. And we appreciate you a lot. With that said, we will see you on the next one, where hopefully we're covering a better band.